Alright, so last time we talked about how to identify a function. This time we're going to talk about domain and range of functions. So the domain, that word right there, is the input values, usually known as the x values. They're also known as the independent variable. They're the thing that you plug into the equation. The range is the stuff that you get out. Okay, so these are the values that you get out of the equation. They're output values, or y values, or dependent variable. They're the stuff we get out. And then we know that a linear function is a function with a constant rate of change. It looks like a straight line. Okay, we're going to be giving the domain and range, and then we'll be looking at if something is linear or not. Okay, so some things to remember. When stating domain and range, list them in order from smallest to greatest numbers. Okay, it doesn't matter when they show up. I just want them in order from smallest to biggest. If the value repeats, note you only need to write it once. Okay? If I'm given points, then we use the little squirrely brackets. If we're given a graph, then we're going to use interval notation using parentheses and brackets. Okay, linear just means it's a straight line. So if we were to graph it, would it look like a straight line? That's it. That's all it means. So right here, we're deciding what the domain is, what the range is, and then we're deciding if it's linear. So right here, my domain is just going to be my x values. So there's an x value, there's an x value, there's an x value. Now, although the 1 repeats, so it's not a function, I'm just going to put the -2 first because that's the smallest number, and then I put the 1 once. Okay? So there's my domain. Now my range is all my y values. So like 3, 6, and 2. So my range is going to be, the smallest number is 2, my next smallest number is 3, my biggest number is 6. So now if I look at this, my graph would look like this. We went to 1, we went up 3. We went to -2, we went up 6. And we went to 1, we went up 2. Does that look like a straight line? No, so this is non-linear. In other words, not linear. All right, let's go ahead and do these points. So this point right here, it's at the point -2, 0. Then this one's at the point 1, 1. This one's at the point 0, 5. And this one's at the point 4, -1. Okay, so those are helpful to know, but my domain, remember, is just my x values. So my domain is just going to be my x values. So I'm going through and I'm only looking at where they land. So this one lands right there. So this is at -2. Then my next one lands at 0. Then my next one lands at 1. And my last one lands at 4. Then range, we have to go sideways. So my lowest one is here at -1. Then my next lowest one is on the 0 line, so I put 0. Then my next one's right here at 1. And then my tallest one is up here at 5. Okay, so that's my range. And do these look like they're a straight line? No, so this is a non-linear. And it's even a function. It's just non-linear. Okay, now see how this is on a graph? I'm going to have to make some adjustments here. I'm going to have to go to interval notation. So if you look at this one, my domain is my x values. So on my x line, this being my x line up here, okay, I can see that I go forever this way. It's getting flat. So that's -infinity. And then I can see that I flatline right here. Do you see how it's getting closer and closer and closer and closer to that line, but it never actually touches? I'm flatlining at 0. So my domain is from -infinity to 0. Okay? And then I use parentheses because I never reach -infinity because it's a concept, not a number. And I never reach 0 because I keep getting closer and closer, but never actually touch. And we're going to talk about that name later on in the year. Now my range is my y value. So if you notice on my y-axis now, I have an arrow pointing down, so it's going forever down. So that's -infinity. And then if you notice, I'm getting closer and closer and closer and closer to the number 2, which is right there. So it's going all the way up to positive 2, but it's never actually touching 2, so we're just going to do another parenthesis. So my domain, left to right, remember this is from left to right, and then my range is from down to up. Okay? If that made sense, we go from the bottom up. Here we stopped on positive 2, and then going over we stopped on 0. Okay? Any questions there? All right, I want you guys to go ahead and give this one a shot. Notice that the range on 4 is going to be a little different, but you've totally got this. Just give it a shot. You can at least do the domain and range on 5. You got this. Go ahead and give it